I'm Quitting Heroing is an anime adaptation of a light novel by Quantum. The show is set in a fantasy world and takes place after the war against the demons, where the former hero, Leo Demonheart, decides to join the demon army after being shunned by the very people he protected and exiled from the kingdom he called home. Left with nowhere to go, Leo decides to try joining the very army he took down. Since the Demon Queen refuses to let Leo join, he approaches her generals, the Elite Four, who allow him to work with them under a preliminary basis. Unbeknownst to the Demon Queen Echidna, Leo starts helping the Elite Four rebuild her army using a disguise and the alias Black Knight Onyx. The story is moving along very slowly. We're 5 episodes in and nothing has happened. Season 1 will consist of 12 episodes, meaning that next week is the halfway mark. So the fact that nothing substantial has happened at this point is a problem. These first batch of episodes have served to establish each character and has a bit of world building. After the series premiere, each episode is focused on a different general within the demon army with the exception of episode 4, which puts the spotlight on Echidna. Most episodes boil down to the same thing, with Leo helping one of the generals with a problem they have with their work. While it's commendable that they've given the audience time to get to know these characters better, what has been presented so far has been very dull. Nothing is intriguing about the Elite Four so far, and what occurs throughout these episodes isn't very engaging. This week's episode, which focused on Melnies and his poor communication skills, was by far the worst episode. I barely got through that episode due to how boring it was. Thankfully, episode 4 has prevented the show from feeling too repetitive, since most of the episodes have focused on Leo helping the generals. That episode is definitely the best one so far, with Leo trying to get out of a dinner party with Echidna. This was the first episode where some of the humor was actually effective. Up until that point, a lot of the comedy fell completely flat. I noticed immediately in the first episode when Leo goes to meet Echidna that the visual gags that should have worked just didn't. The one moment that got a chuckle out of me from episode 4 happens when Echidna gets angry after Leo, whose face has been altered, asks her about the possibility of him joining the army. His narration during that scene and how we're transitioned away from it, only to find that she's still on a tirade afterward, was genuinely funny. Echidna is easily the most interesting character besides Leo, but that's not saying much. That episode revealed why she came to the human world and started a war, which I won't spoil for anyone who hasn't watched it yet. The reveal of her motivation certainly paints the character in a more positive light and makes her easier to empathize with. The only other notable thing in that episode was Leo's nightmare about his past in the beginning of the episode, which threw me off due to the futuristic, more modern looking setting. That has to be the most engaging scene in this entire season so far, which isn't saying much given the sparse amount of action up to this point. Another major problem with this show right now is the lack of action scenes. It would surprise me to find out that we had over 2 minutes of action so far. I noticed how scarce the action has been, so I double checked the genre and it's listed as an action-adventure comedy series. Where the heck are the action scenes? This show doesn't look like it has the biggest budget, but even shows with an average production have a few action scenes per episode. I'm not expecting a big spectacle, but the studio could have done something to make these episodes more exciting. Did they dedicate most of their resources to the opening animation or something? Because the animation is clean, and if you saw it without watching this series, you'd probably think that there's a decent amount of action in it. I'm not one of those guys that needs to see someone getting kicked in the face every few minutes, but this show could benefit from having a couple well-constructed action scenes spread throughout each episode to break things up. Since the series doesn't have exciting things happening each episode, that pacing issue I alluded to earlier is compounded. I could tolerate this scarcity issue to an extent if the characters were more entertaining and very compelling, but that's simply not the case. I was curious as to when this show might pick up, so yesterday I quickly skimmed through different chapters of the manga. It looks like next week's episode will focus on Edwald, who previously tried to kill himself for not training his troops properly. Once again, it seems like we'll be getting another mundane, Leo helping a general do their work more efficiently episode. I'm hoping that this series picks up within the next couple episodes, otherwise I'll probably drop it soon. The show has an interesting premise, but aside from that, there isn't much there to keep the audience hooked. At this point, I can't recommend anyone watch this show, especially when there are way better fantasy anime airing this season. If you're even remotely interested in this show, I suggest reading the manga, as perhaps the pacing issue wouldn't be as bad in that format. Anyway, if you've seen I'm Quitting Heroing, let me know what you guys think about it so far in the comment section below. And as always, thank you guys for watching. I'm out of here. Peace.